Desoto Speedway, the South's fastest short track. Wheel to wheel, nose to nose, the race to the finish, a high-speed show. We got the hottest drivers the South has seen. The cars are the fastest and they're really mean. Your family's gonna love it when the green flag's down. There's more excitement here than any place in town. Desoto Speedway, the South's fastest short track.
And now it's time to review the 1985 racing season at Desoto Speedway. We're going to look back, take a look at each of the 7 racing divisions, how the season went, who the champions were, and just see some of the action that took place this season, and it was spectacular. You might even see yourself on there, so just kind of sit back, relax, and enjoy the 1985 racing season in review at
Desoto Speedway, the South's fastest short track.
The season got underway with the Budweiser Ice Breaker 100 back in February. Dick Trickle, the nation's winningest stock car driver, was on hand to take on Florida's best, but couldn't get the job done as lucky Leroy Porter from Orlando came home with the big cash. In the Sportsman Outlaw class at Desoto Speedway in 1985, Ray Bontrager pretty much had a stronghold on things, but he received challenges early from Bobby Gill, Eddie King in one of those fast 6-cylinder machines, and Tim Miller coming back from a 3-year retirement. Tim got off to a rough start, crashing with Steve Gainey in the early part of the season and pretty much wiping out that number 10 car. But racing got payback and returned to the winner's circle in 1985. The season, however, did come to an abrupt halt just 3 weeks from again wiping out both cars. We're sure Tim Miller will be back in the 1986 racing season. He dropped back to 3rd place in the point standings after being 2nd for most of the season. Eddie King, with that fast 6-cylinder machine, raised a few eyebrows, especially in the V8 camps this year, running very competitively, and in the last race of the season moved into 2nd place in the point standings behind Ray Bontrager by beating Rapid Ray at the stripe by less than a foot, making an outside move on the last turn of the last lap. Richard Till came on strong at the end of the year in another 6-cylinder car to finish 4th in the point standings. 5th went to Bobby Gill, who purchased a new car from Daniel Keene at the end of the year. And taking 6th spot after coming on at the middle of the season with another of those Keene Brothers trucking specials was Rodney Scheer. He appeared in the winner's circle a few times and finished 6th in the point standings. Desoto Speedway's newest class in 1985 was the side-by-front running figure 8s. Figure 8 veteran Clyde Cole was in hog heaven as he just loved the entire high banks of Desoto Speedway to run those figure 8s on, going through that intersection at speeds right around 65 to 70 miles an hour. Clyde Cole won the championship, holding off the powerful Miller Racing Team from Pinellas Park. Bill Ringheisen finished 2nd in the points. 3rd went to Bill Miller. 4th to Robert Powell. And with a very fine season this year, Rick Bullard in car number 1 finished in 5th position in the figure 8 point standings. The Street Stocks put on a good show in 1985 with always exciting action, running side by side, nose to tail most of the year. When it was all said and done, Screamin' Scott Wilson was the champion. Don Van Acker, with a very good season, finished in 2nd spot with his number 33. Bucky Brown came home in 3rd. Moving on to the modified mini-stock class, one of the most competitive classes this year with several blanket finishes at the checkered flag. Billy Tolksdorf, last year's Rookie of the Year in this class, came on to be the champion in 1985. Steve Tooker finished in 2nd spot with 3rd, going to the relay this year, Bruce Carbone in car number 21. Pretty much dominated the class until the last race of the season. He got into it with the 2nd place driver Matt Thornton in his Volkswagen Rabbit number 1. Protests were exchanged, and when the dust cleared, Dennis Wilson Jr.'s car was ruled illegal. He lost all his points, and Matt Thornton is the 1985 Stock Mini-Stock champion. John Ferguson Sr., who took over from John Jr. at the first part of the year, had some very consistent finishes to finish 2nd in the point standings, with 3rd going to popular Vicky Gaskin, who utilized both a Chevrolet and a Honda Accord for 3rd place in the Stock Mini-Stock point standings. You talk about point races. This bomber division was something else in 1985. They started out with only 3 cars at the beginning of the season, but they began to grow as the season progressed. Wallace Ramsey pretty much dominated things the first part of the year. Looked like he was on his way to winning a championship, but a very bad crash destroyed his number 12, and he retired for the rest of the year, helping out Gary Montag in car number 81, who eventually overtook Wallace Ramsey's point total, and Eric Damon was soon to follow in his brand new number 1 machine, which pretty much resembles a Sarasota police cruiser. Rodney Scheer came on about the middle of the season, began winning right and left with high finishes, the defending Bomber champion, trying to make it 2 in a row, and it came down to the last race of the 1985 racing season. When it was all said and done, Eric Damon won the feature and the point title by just 11 points over Gary Montag, who desperately tried to move around John Shields but could not get the job done, had to settle for second in the point standings. Rodney Scheer took third in car number 20. The pickup truck points chase was also decided in that last race of the season. John Egan's, who trailed his teammate Roger Bryson in truck number 22 for the most part of the season, came on strong at the end of the year, won the championship by just 28 points. The sprint cars returned to Desoto Speedway in 1985 with several different feature winners. Ronnie Smith, Jimmy Alvis, Frank Riddle, Jim Childers, Stan Butler, and Wayne Hammond all won feature events in 1985, Riddle taking 3 of those. Jim Childers, however, with high finishes in his Sidewinder Bandit machine with 4-wheel independent suspension, came home the champion, with Riddle finishing in second. Third went to Ronnie Smith, who took over for Stan Butler the beginning of the year. And probably the 2 most dominating cars at Desoto Speedway this year were those powerful A and B mini storage cars, number 14 and number 14V. Stan Butler won the Ledford Construction Mid-Season Championship, with Childers taking second place, taking all the big money up front. Sport Allen debuted a brand new A and B mini storage Lloyd Shores creation, the last sprint car race of the season, and BC was on hand to put Desoto Speedway on national television. Sport looked good in the new automobile, winning his heat race, but unfortunately had to drop out in the feature with a broken brake rotor. And there's the youngest driver ever to win a sprint car race, 15-year-old Sport Allen. There's his new car, that big A and B mini storage machine. The ladies' competition was back in action in 1985 when it was all said and done. Bonda Martin won her 2nd straight title driving the X machine. There's Bonda's number X Sands Toyota Special. Vicki Gaskin tied with Sue Cole for 2nd spot in ladies' competition, and Kathy Wilson had a good season in her number 99 machine. The All-Pro Circuit came to Desoto Speedway in 1985 for the Keene Brothers Trucking Twin 125s. The defending All-Pro champion Darrell Brown won the first 125, with Florida driver Leroy Porter taking the second one. Some exciting action by the All-Pro Circuit, who plans a return to Desoto Speedway in 1986. The season ended with the $60,000 Florida Late Model Triple Crown. The best in the business were here to take on Florida's best. Dick Trickle, Butch Miller, Mike Eddy were all here to take on Dave Brakefield in the 75, Dave Pletcher in the 21 and Leroy Porter in car number 7. Porter led the Southern Shootout early, but got bumped by Brakefield, spun out, and Butch Miller came around to take the apparent win, but was disqualified for too much left side weight, giving the win to Brakefield. The action moved to Sunshine Speedway on Saturday night for the Governor's Cup Florida 200. Mike Eddy led early, but spun out in turn number 2, giving the lead to Dave Brakefield, who just got by this spin by Frank Galinsky, took out the second place car, Butch Miller, in the 72. Miller took the lead just past the halfway point, and car number 75, Brakefield, in the 99 and Trickle gave chase, but Trickle got tangled up with Denny Diary in turn 4, dropped back to 4th place. Jimmy Cope took 3rd with Brakefield 2nd, and Butch Miller coming on to take the win. The final jewel of the Triple Crown was on Sunday afternoon with the Coca-Cola 200 at Desoto Speedway. Here Dave Fletcher gets into car number 69, Dick Harrington, and he collects Frank Dolinsky in car number 14. Mike Getty was the early leader but got passed by Dick Trickle in car number 99, who then was passed by Butch Miller in the 52, who went on to win his third straight Coca-Cola 200. Butch Miller in the winner's circle. There's you-know-who interviewing the second place driver, Dick Trickle, and there's your winner, Butch Miller. 1985 was a very good year at DeSoto Speedway, but for some, they had their troubles. Sit back and relax and watch what happens when you get a little help from your friends racing at DeSoto Speedway. Hope to see everybody back in 1986.
DeSoto Speedway, the South's fastest short track.
And I'd like to thank Bob Culbertson for providing us with videotapes throughout the 1985 racing season. You can see yourself all winter long, courtesy of Bob Culbertson videotapes, available to you at a very reasonable price just by calling 371-5191. That's 371-5191. This is a free call. Operators are standing by. Batteries not included. Bob has got some very exciting shots this year, like this one. Here goes Ken Watson. Don't hit the wall. He hit it. And there's more. There's 10-year-old Tim Mcdowell, the youngest driver ever to win a race at DeSoto Speedway. Put the camera on Don Nerone here. He says, go to the next shot, please. There it is, the DeSoto Speedway pace car. Number 1, of course, the car still appears at DeSoto Speedway. Here comes some mini stock action. Tim Huffstutler getting into the fence, coming out of turn 2. Here's some action from the Seafest 100 as Bobby Kreitz gets right on top of Bobby Gill. There's Daniel Keene spinning around, taking Richard Till with him. Here comes Rick Boom Boom Boyette hitting the third turn wall. Fortunately, all drivers okay in these accidents. Loose wheel, Lucille down the back straightaway. Some bomber action here. Eric Damon and Ron Salkill. Here's Eddie Harton in car number 65, swapping some paint with Billy Tolksdorf in the 57. Roland Dine says, how you doing? And there's the boss, Margie King, doing her pre-race checks on the blackboard. Bobby 5x5 Day with his latest racing creation. Bruce Carbone and Steve Tooker getting together in turn 3.
Wheel to wheel, nose to nose, it's a race to the finish, a high-speed show. We got the hottest drivers the South has seen. The cars are the fastest and they're really mean. Your family's gonna love it when the green flag's down. There's more excitement here than any place in town. DeSoto Speedway, the South's fastest short track.
That's all, folks.